right, welcome back. And we have another special report from Israel. And here are two wonderful brothers in the Lord. First of all, I'm going to introduce you to Elon from Israel, Moriel, Israel. How are you this evening, brother?
All right then. Thank you, Marco. Very good.
Oh, thank you for
Yes.
being with us here this
Still
evening.
warm and stuffy, but it's nice.
All right, well, that's nice.
That's an actual photo of him, by the way.
Yeah,
It is.
sounds
Yes.
nice. And,
Yeah.
uh, and of course, I want to introduce you to another brother, Jacob Prash. Jacob, how are you this evening?
I'm well in Jesus, looking forward to his return.
Amen. Well, let's look
Amen.
forward to Elon. Go ahead,
Okay.
give us what you have.
There's about three or four main items here, but I'll just the first one I thought was particularly interesting. I picked this up a couple of hours ago actually, and it was a report. It was a brief report on. I don't know if you've heard of a so-called human rights activist called Ahed Tamimi. Have you heard of this person?
Never
Anybody?
heard of him.
Jacob, perhaps? Anyway,
Yeah, I've heard of him.
she was being promoted as a yeah. She's been promoted as a human rights activist and has received all these glowing press coverage. I mean, she was some time ago. She got a lot of coverage for assaulting an Israeli soldier while she was only a teenager. But what came out recently in a recent podcast interview with this woman, because she's known globally apparently, um, she said this, and she said, "I was raised to believe that Judaism means occupation." And today, tomorrow, and a million years from now, I will continue to say that Judaism should be presented to the children of Palestine, children of my age and younger, as occupation, and that we are fighting the Jews, not Zionism. The whole world needs to shut up when a Palestinian is talking. We are superior to the entire world because we are the only ones in the world fighting injustice at the expense of our lives and the expense of our humanity. I mean, this is a very twisted woman. I mean, she was saying I think 2023, in another kind of one of her posts, she says, "You'll say that what Hitler did to you was a joke. We'll drink your blood and eat your skulls."
Wow, this
Well,
is crazy.
that kind of it really peels back the veneer over the whole Palestinian narrative. We know
Yes,
already, of course, but I mean, she's saying it explicitly. Really, it's not about in the land. It's not about um, uh, a Palestinian state. It's about slaughtering the Jews. And
correct.
anyway, so that's
Well, at
Well,
least
that's
she's telling
exactly.
the
um,
truth.
yes. At least one of them's telling the truth. There's a guy on X. He's an ex-Muslim, and he posts some very interesting analyses. I just want to just read a short one out here. I think this is really interesting. And he writes. He's called Dan Burmawi, and he writes, looking back across the entire century, the verdict is unavoidable. Communism imported from Moscow never took root in the, he's talking about the Middle East here. It was alien, atheistic, and foreign. Its moments of visibility were always at the mercy of Soviet directives, not Palestinian reality. Nationalism had its heyday under Nasser and the PLO, but it failed catastrophically in practice. It could not mobilize the masses in a lasting way, and its defeats discredited it. It promised liberation through secular unity, but delivered corruption and compromise. Islam, by contrast, endured and triumphed. From the 1936 revolt under Husseini to the jihad rhetoric of 1948 to the mosque-based leadership of the Intifada, Islam was always the authentic voice. It was not imported from Europe or dictated by Moscow. It was the native language of the people. That is why it is historically false to say that Palestine created jihad. The opposite is true. Islam created Palestine as a cause. Without Islam, communists would have been a sect, nationalists a clique, It was Islam that sacralized the land, made resistance a duty, and gave the conflict its enduring, unrelenting character. And this is why, in the end, even today, the banner of Palestinian resistance is not Marx, not Nasser, not even the faded nationalism of Arafat. It is the green flag of Islam, carried by Hamas and its allies, declaring openly what has always been true. The struggle is not political, but religious. That's a very good analysis, I think,
Absolutely.
of the whole thing.
There are two things she fails to point out. One, 2 weeks ago, the Arab League issued a statement that's contrary to that. Not that I have any love for the
Yes,
Arab League, but they are not in accord with her. They want Hamas out, as does Fatah. Not that I have any good thing to say about Fatah either. So she's out of step with most of the Arab Muslim world. That is the first thing that she fails to state. The second thing that she fails to state is what has Hamas done to its own people? You know, you had three people
yes,
living in Qatar, just the three main leaders embezzled $11 billion. 11 billion in aid given to Gaza to build an infrastructure, and instead they stole the money. And what they didn't steal, they
yeah,
used to construct a, a tunnel network, a huge tunnel network for terrorist
yeah,
purposes. She ignores that as well. Now, it is a terrorist organization. It is even recognized as a terrorist organization by other Arab Islamic countries. I hold to the position that anybody who is a terrorist or a member of a terrorist organization is a legitimate military target. And anyone who
yes,
is supportive of terror is a legitimate military target. Uh, I'm not saying someone should go out and murder her, but if the Israelis or someone takes her out, it would not be murder. It would be the elimination of a legitimate terrorist target.
yeah. She's a nasty piece of work, but
That's
yeah.
just an evil woman,
What's her name again, Elon?
Tamimi.
Ahed Tamimi.
Oh,
Ahed Tamimi.
is she what is she Egyptian? Is she Tunisian? Is
Well,
she
she says she's Palestinian, but some people say she's actually at least half Bosnian. Well, there's a lot of
Oh,
Bosnian.
oh yeah. Good.
Yep.
Yeah, good grief. Okay,
The
I
other
got it.
issue is she mentions Husseini in 1936. Yeah,
Yeah, Yaakov, there's two things there. There was a brief report on her, a brief mention of her, and then the other bit about the analysis on Islam was from Dan Bomawi, and he was just so the two separate pieces
yeah.
there. I've just put them. Yeah, yeah. She didn't write the second piece. That was somebody else. I just thought they went together rather well. The
Yes.
analysis of that, against the virulent hatred that comes out of that woman's poisonous mouth.
But even mentioning
Um,
Husseini as an Islamic figure rising up against the
oh
Jews,
yeah,
he sung the praises of Hitler and made it concordant
yes,
with
he did.
Hitler.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course.
There are actually in some parts of now. I don't know if it's in Syria or it's in it might be Turkey. There are actually Hitler shops, and they have the swastika outside. And you can
Yes,
go and
yes,
buy all kinds of stuff, Hitler themed and
I,
Nazi
I, I,
themed
I'd show Jacob
stuff.
some of the stores that actually
yes,
are named Hitler and couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. He's very popular in the Middle East, in some
Yeah.
parts of India too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Certainly in Pakistan as well, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, And so the next big block of stories really is all about the diplomatic spats we're now having, with first with the UK, then with Australia, with Holland, and New Zealand. There was now Israel has now warned that in fact BB said this explicitly that we may cut security ties with the United Kingdom and stop sharing intelligence information if
Right.
two-tier presses ahead with his divisive plan to recognize the state of Palestine. So that actually would not be good because I mean I remember Donald Trump saying something about a month and a half ago how massively helpful Israeli intelligence has been in stopping a lot of terrorist incidents in the US and in in other places, how helpful it was. So Britain will be dipping out if this happens to them. Um, Also, the same with Australia. We've made the same warning to the Labour Party in Australia because on the back of that one of the members of Knesset, what is it, Rothman, Simcha Rothman has been
Yeah.
banned for 3 years from
Yes.
entering Australia, just because he was very open about what actually is the official position of the Israeli government. It's not like he's ranting or anything like that on some kind of off of his own bat. This is the actual official position of the Israeli government that one, Hamas must be destroyed, that the Palestinian state would be the first step to Israel's destruction, and sovereignty must be applied in Judea and Samaria. This has been labeled by the Australian government as incitement, but it is the actual position of the Israeli government vis-a-vis the Hamas situation and what to do with the Judea and Samaria. So he's been barred from entering Australia just for actually representing what the what the Israeli government's position is. But it's really disgraceful. I mean, it's just pure anti-Semitism, really. And it's
A
because
hundred
he was
percent.
intending to,
A hundred
yeah, he,
percent.
he was intending to, yes. I mean, the only reason he was going to go to Australia actually was to just to go around and comfort and support Australian Jews because of all the anti-Semitic incidents that have been going on over there. So also, yes, now the Israeli government as well is starting to deny Australian diplomatic visa applications for entry into Israel and the little office that the Australian government has in the territories. So it's tit for tat there. Um, of course, the other thing was, I think we mentioned it briefly before we started this, that there's a spat now going on with between the UK government and in fact our ambassador over there, Tsipi Hotovely,
Yes.
was summoned before the UK David Lammy, the uh, the UK foreign
Oh
minister,
no, not David Lammy again. Can I go a day without
yeah,
hearing his
yeah,
name? I mean, really, honestly, can I go a day without hearing his name?
yeah. I can't stand the man. I've got to say, he really is a DEI hire, and
What's his
he
background? I mean, I always wanted to know what his background was. Was he part of the
I
former
forget.
government at all? I mean, not his cultural or ethnic, his background in terms of government. What was he? Was he a dog catcher or something like that in the government? I'm not sure.
I don't know really. Sorry. Anyway, he summoned our ambassador over there over to give her a dressing down about the construction that's planned in Area E1, which is if you on the east side of Jerusalem, there's obviously there's parts of Judea and Samaria, and then there's a block at the moment that isn't really kind of full of anything. And just eastward of that, you've got the city. It's not a settlement; it's a city of Ma'ale Adumim. And
Yes.
so what's going to happen now is Israel is has approved construction within this area E1, which is between Ma'ale Adumim and Jerusalem. So they're going to start building houses there and filling it in. And the thing, David Lammy was in his critique of which he issued to Tzipi Hotovely that he said it was a flagrant breach of international law. That is not true. But the other thing he did say was it would critically undermine the two-state solution. And this is the same, which was echoed by the Dutch foreign minister as well, Caspar Veldkamp. And so he said it would make a future Palestinian state nearly impossible. Correct, and that is the official position of the Israeli government. That we don't want the two-state solution is dead, gone, finished. It's gone now as far as the Israeli government and most of the people also are backing this. I mean the decision to annex the Judea and Samaria was carried in the Knesset by 99 to 9. And that's huge. And at one time, maybe some years back, before October the 7th, the feeling in the country was about 60-40, 60% thinking no two-state solution, 40% possibly yes. But now it's swung even more against. So really, it is the will of the national will has changed, and then perception of this has changed hugely. So he can't all these silly things. What Lammy was saying is, um, that we must, the Israeli government must reverse this decision. No, they won't, because it's not the will of the people, and that's it. That's the end of it. It's so silly. So the next big thing was what's going on in Gaza now, or it's already started. The operation in Gaza has already started. They've called up another 60,000 reserve soldiers, and that's of course people that were already completed their main military service, and they're now being recalled for reserve duty. And at least the initial reports have been saying that the way that this is going to be accomplished, the initial plan is basically massive bombardment of the remaining areas, with heavy fire, evacuations, and maneuvering. It was this is a lot of this has to do with, of course, the fact that many of the buildings are dangerous for Israeli soldiers to enter because often they're booby trapped with
Yes.
remotely detonatable bombs and all kinds of stuff. They're death traps, and unless they're absolutely certain that they're clear, it's not safe to go in there. So the default option most of the time now is flatten them, and which is why Gaza looks like a pancake now, because it's just not safe. So that's going to be a lot of ordnance there. All told, they reckon it'll by the time that full deployment has been reached in that area in the Gaza Strip, there'll be about 130,000 reservists. That's in addition to the regular soldiers. So that's a heck of a lot of men in there. Now, all of this, I mean, when you think how small Israel actually is in terms of population, I mean, that's a that's a lot of people who have been taken from their jobs and employment. It has a massive effect
Yes.
on the economy. It's expensive to run a war. Um, it really is. Um, so it's expected that this operation will last several months and continue into 2026. I mean, some of these reservists, I mean, usually they used to serve for about 2 months or something, maybe three, but now it's going to be another additional month and a half at least. So that's 140 days of reserve duty during this year alone. That's a long time to be away from your business if you're self-employed, certainly.
Yes.
So it's so this thing is still developing, so there's more to come, of course, but it's only just begun, so that'll be something to keep an eye on. Um, I was going to say the most stupid thing I saw this week was that someone else is predicting the rapture on the September the 23rd or the 24th this time. So, and another one more silly thing. This was all over X, and this was some lesbian woman who had rainbow eyebrows and wearing a keffiyeh was denouncing supposedly her Christianity, and states that she will be converting to Islam and be on the dangerous front lines with the Muslims. She concluded that she will handle everything coming her way in the name of Allah. I mean, this is one of the silliest things they just I don't get how any rational person can um actually say such stupid nonsense. That she'd be dead in a second, be throwing her off a roof or stoning her to death because of her homosexuality. You know, one last small thing, and I thought this was quite interesting, and this was just somebody writing, and this person had been at Moody Bible Institute from 2008 to 2010. And he writes, he says, historically, it was one of the centers of dispensationalism and a healthy view of God's covenants with Israel. But he said, outside of my Jewish studies cohort, he said, most of the students I knew were indifferent to Israel at best, with maybe even a slight majority leaning towards replacement theology. So I've seen the writing on the wall in terms of where my generation is headed on the Israel
Yes.
issue for almost 20 years. And now that is quite interesting because there has been there were some problems, well, came to light about maybe 8 or so years ago of doctrinal problems in Moody. But one
Yes.
of the things that came out, I saw another report about 2 years ago where how many people had developed a kind of agnostic view of eschatology. And a lot of this, the reason for this view was linked to pre-tribulational rapturism and all the kind of date-setting
Yes.
wackadoodle nonsense and left-behindism um, had soured a lot of people towards it because it was all the sensationalism and stupidity and is actually working against pre-trib itself is working against a supportive view of Israel. The pre-trib, it's actually damaging it, and I thought that was quite interesting.
It is very
Anyway, that
true.
was it, really.
Yeah, it is very true, Elon. As we finish the episode here, a lot of pastors my age, or just underneath my age, or maybe just a little bit older than me, have a different perspective on Israel, depending on where which denomination or background they have. A lot of them don't care, and the word indifferent is probably the right
Yeah.
word. It may not be completely anti-Semitic or anti-Zionist or anti-Israel. They may have some regards for Jewish believers and things like that. I'm not saying that they're completely turned off, but they are, in a sense, agnostic toward the support of the Jewish people or have anything to do with the biblical prophecy, especially Romans 9 to 11. They take a more of an agnostic position of, well, we can see it both ways. And so they don't really take a stand. And plus, I think a lot of them are concerned with the political nature of it. They don't want to politicize it. They don't want to become political. They don't want to cause controversy within their congregation. So they take a backseat to that. But that is pretty predominant now with younger pastors. So that is very true. That's been
Wow.
long coming. At least 15, 20 years is right.
Yes. What struck me though particularly was the fact that some of this indifference was really linked with pre-trib rapture theorism and the crazy stuff.
Yes.
People were in this survey that I saw, and I wish I could find it again. People were embarrassed to be associated with that. It's become a liability for it's become a liability for evangelicalism, I think. It's
Yeah,
time
they're
to
embarrassed
return
about it.
to a
Yeah.
more biblically based and more solidly based
Yeah.
eschatology, I think.
Yeah, and this is unfortunate what is transpired, and obviously we're talking about Israel, and but it bleeds into some of the dispensational ideas. Of course, it's the fact that preterism has gained so much ground, especially among young pastors and young leaders. Preterism is I guess you could say it's the new trend. It's kind of like the emergent church trend in the early 2000s, and people are moving toward that. And
Yeah, someone said that. Yeah.
so
I
anyway,
actually saw that comment online this afternoon.
I want to.
Someone said that preterism is the new emergent.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
absolutely true. It is what Jacob and a few leaders that I remember I was younger, were warning about because that was the talk of the town. It was Rob Bell and a lot of the emergent church ideas that were coming
Yeah.
up. And now you have an eschatological version. You have an eschatological version of that, which is just recycled. Preterism has been around a long time. I'm not saying it's new, but it is
yes,
it is popular. because of the political nature of things, the hatred for dispensationalism, the hatred for the preacher of rapture from certain segments of the church, and anti-Semitism that has risen, replacement theology. So it is trendy to be not just post-millennial, but it is to be preterist. That's really where it comes down to at the moment. Many of them
Yeah.
defend it. They can't even defend it. Many of them can. Many of them can't. But anyway, it's trendy. Let's close this up because we reached already our limit. Andy, just one final thought and any prayers that we can pray for you. Let our audience know what we can pray for and anything that it's on your mind very quickly.
Well, considering we've just been talking about it, I mean, I would, you know, not so much for myself, but I would really, I really, it is often a subject of prayer for myself when I'm praying for the body of Christ as a whole, and here in Israel as well, is that the Lord would deliver us from pre-tribulational rapturism and all the problems it has caused, and open people's eyes, because the time is growing short. And it's not only the fact that it leaves people unprepared. You see many pre-trib teachers adding to and taking away from the scriptures in order to support this view.
Yes.
And I think, I just wonder sometimes if the Lord will not judge some of these pre-trib leaders as false prophets when he returns,
Yes. That
because
few
what
of
they
you be
do to the word of
teachers.
God sometimes is awful.
Yep. James
Sorry?
3:1, that few of you be teachers. Teachers will be judged more strictly
Yes,
than the rest.
yes.
And they're being used of
I
the
mean,
devil to render the church unprepared for what's coming.
All right.
yes,
Good. All right.
yes,
Thank you so much,
You
Elon.
know, one thing, please.
Yeah.
30 years ago here in Britain, I highlighted a number of things that I said that is going to distinguish the apostate church from the true church at the close of the age before the Lord comes. I highlighted things. One of them was the ecumenical issue. The apostate church would go ecumenical and the faithful church would not. But the other one I said was the prophetic purposes of God for Israel and the Jews. The faithful church will recognize it, the apostate church will not. Um,
yeah,
I
yes,
don't say that if somebody is replacement theology, that in itself makes them apostate, but replacementism, supersessionism will be an absolute definite characteristic attribute of the apostate church. I said that 30 years ago,
yeah,
and
yes,
everything that's unfolded since that time confirms it, reinforces my conviction.
yeah,
Very
yes,
good. All right.
absolutely.
Praise the Lord. God bless you, Elon. Have a great evening. Please say hello to all the
And you
believers there.
too.
And we're praying for you guys. So have a good evening.
Thank you very much. God bless and Shabbat Shalom לכולם.
גם לך, כל טוב, להתראות, שבת שלום, גם
להתראות.
טוב בבית.
Shabbat Shalom ושבוע טוב.